Microsoft's raising the price on the Xbox Series X and Game Pass. Well, we didn't quite expect it to work out in this fashion, especially since I did a video quite literally yesterday about Microsoft not raising the prices. But Microsoft has announced and kind of put out information that they are going to be raising the price of Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. We'll get to that in a second. And that they are also going to be raising the price of the Xbox Series X console. Now, this price raising is interesting. So on the Xbox Series X, they're only raising the price outside of the US. And also, if you are in Japan, Chile, Brazil, or Colombia, I believe it is not going up in price. They're raising it in select markets, which matches a similar strategy that we have seen from what Sony has done. Remember, the PlayStation 5 has also seen a price increase. So in the US, the Series X will stay at $499. In Great Britain, it's going up roughly 6.5-7% to 479 British pounds. Europe, it's going to go up 10% to 549 euros. Australia, it's going up around 7-ish% to 799. And the Canadian geese are going to see about an 8% increase. This is an interesting strategy because Microsoft has really kind of been like saying, hey, look, we're not going to raise the price of this stuff. But here we are. Microsoft is increasing the price of the Xbox Series X. Now, granted, they are not touching, at least as of yet, the price on the Series S, which kind of is an interesting question because, like, are their cost of components going up? I can't imagine that because it's so many years after the console launch that things are increasing. I think Microsoft is just trying to match parity with what Sony is doing. They see this sort of as a freebie. It's like, look, they did it. We're not going to lose any competitive advantage here. I guess they might lose a little bit because they lost some cost competitive advantage. But at the end of the day, Microsoft needs to make money, and apparently overseas, and the Forex headwinds, as the financial analysts like to call it, are not working in their favor. And so Microsoft increasing the price in those markets, which is clearly not going to help drive demand. But either way, that is what they are doing. Now, the bigger, I couldn't have predicted this even if I tried. So just yesterday, my friends, if you're a subscriber on the channel, you saw me put out this video. It says no price increases for Xbox Game Pass. And wow, not even 24 hours later, Microsoft goes ahead and announces that they're going to be raising prices. Now, the reason why I put an asterisk there is not that I expected the acquisition of Activision to actually immediately increase the price. That was some sort of speculation. It made a little bit of sense, right? You spend $70 billion, you got to increase this price. But Microsoft actually, in some of their documentations, quite literally said, here, the acquisition would benefit the consumer by making Call of Duty available on Microsoft's Game Pass on the day it is released on console, with no price increases for the service based on the acquisition. It is that second half that is really key, and that was part of the asterisk because I was arguing that Microsoft could raise the price for any reason, and as it turns out, they have. So the reality is, as of right now, Microsoft is not going to be increasing the price of Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate because of the acquisition. They are doing it because they want to make more money. And now, the timing of this is super duper interesting because starting tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, but tomorrow in the US, Microsoft is going to court against the FTC to try to argue to be able to close the Activision deal. So a couple things are happening here. One, Microsoft knows that they could not have announced this price increase after this deal was done because, right, the narrative writes itself. Microsoft closed a $70 billion deal, and look, they're jacking up the price of Game Pass, and they're definitely not doing it because of that deal, right? And so Microsoft would immediately find itself in hot water because you guys said you wouldn't do it because of this. And look, now you're raising the price, and they could make up any random reason. So Microsoft is raising the price ahead of that acquisition, which to me makes it sound like they're potentially confident that this deal is going to go through. So they want to get the price increase out of the way ahead of this acquisition so they don't have that massive negative PR press wave that would occur if they did it in, let's say, August or September or October or something like that. So they're trying to, in my opinion, clear the deck. Now, the timing is pretty terrible because, right, they're going to court tomorrow, and they could potentially could potentially be weaponized against him. It's like, look, you guys are already jacking up the price, and you haven't even closed the deal yet, right? That is a very real thing that might happen in the courts because of Microsoft doing this. Granted, Microsoft increasing the price of this actually probably helps Sony in some regard, right? Because now they could charge more for a subscription service. It creates some more headroom for Sony. It makes it less compelling because, hey, it's more money. But then there's the inverse side. It's like, oh, you guys, once you get more games, you're going to keep raising that price and make it unobtainable for most consumers. We'll see where that really goes. But here you go. Courtesy of Tom Warren on Twitter. This is the new pricing across the board, and basically I think just about every currency where Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate are offered, and this is the new pricing. So starting, I believe, next month, Game Pass will be increasing a single dollar due, that is per month, by the way, a single dollar due per month to $10.99. It's going from $9.99 US dollars to $10.99. Game Pass Ultimate, which also has the convenient acronym GPU, which is not the GPU that is in your whatever, it doesn't matter, is increasing a double that, $2 dues. So it's going from $14.99 to $16.99. And so those are pretty healthy price increases. I believe this is the first direct price increase where it's not like a new SKU or anything like that, but it's quite literally just raising the price on what you pay every single month. And yeah, so Microsoft's increasing the price of the Xbox Series X by, a unspecified amount. I guess it depends on your local currency, but maybe roughly $50 depending on your foreign currency. And then Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate being increased across the board in every region by up to $2 per month. So that's an extra $24 per year. And it does diminish some of the value of Game Pass. I will still argue that Game Pass is a great deal. Granted, it's only a great deal if you play a lot of games. If you're only somebody who plays one game a year or maybe 2 games a year, then it's still not great. But if you're into that 3 category, maybe the 4 category, then yeah, then it definitely can be, as long as your games are in the Game Pass catalog, right? That's sort of the thing. It's going to be interesting to see here if there's much backlash. And Microsoft knows, and I know this as well just from business as well, it's much easier. Once people are in the subscription, it's easier to typically raise the price than it is to get people in. So like if you raise the price of Game Pass Ultimate, the likelihood that more people are going to churn, as it's called, is much lower than trying to get people over that initial hurdle of paying that $16 or $10.99 the first time. So Microsoft very clearly is indicating that it needs to make more money on the Xbox side. I personally interpret this that Microsoft believes that they are going to close the Activision deal. That is my reading of this. Now, that being said, we all absolutely know that if the FTC does come in and slam the door on this, Microsoft will not roll back the pricing. Like if they don't get this done and they have to walk down to Activision's office and drop off $3 billion for the breakup fee that is contractually obligated if they don't get it done by January 18th, Microsoft's not going to sit there and say, nope, we're going to pull that back. They might just keep the price increase and be like, look, this is going to cover that $3 billion that we just had to pay Activision for this failed thing. Although it's cost them way more than $3 billion, right? All the legal fees and all the travel and all the other things, the marketing expenses, like, doing your press runs and all that stuff. So Microsoft is more in the hole than $3 billion if this thing falls apart. But to me, I think it means that they believe they're going to get it done and that they need to get this price increase out of the way so that once it does get closed, they don't have some massive issues on the backside with congressional hearings about Microsoft screwing with consumer pricing when they said they didn't, even though they said it right here that they wouldn't do it because of the Activision. It could sort of blindly be because of it, because they think they'll get it closed. Is that the same thing? That's for you to decide and us to deliberate. So there you go. That's the latest. Microsoft raising the price on Game Pass 24 hours after I kind of thought they said that they weren't. Joke's on me. But as always, make sure to keep it subscribed here because the only BS on this channel is me.